stronger at the broken places, and the weak get weaker as we spit in their faces. From that day on, the world would do your bidding, but the mark you left was like a chemical spillage, and the hate made a slash and a stain on my soul.
Live from the podcast rooms in Glasgow, it's all about the Gers with Ricki Neill, Derek Ferguson and Charlie Miller.
Hello and welcome to All About the Gers. It's myself, Ricki Neill. And tonight's a bit of a strange night because unfortunately Charlie's had to pull out at the last minute and Derek's away in his holiday bags. But luckily I'm joined by one of my good friends, Craig Houston. How you doing, mate?
Very well, very well.
You ready to do a lot of talking tonight?
Well, I was expecting to share the workload with Charlie, but well, there we go.
You'll be fine. But before we get into the chat, I'd just like to say, as per usual, a big thank you to all our sponsors. We've got Avia Signs, Park Construction and Plant Hire, Giant Sea Architectural, Plugged In Business Solutions, DB Dental Care and Crown Embroidery. And like I said every week as well, you can get everything on our website, which is allaboutthegers.co.uk. So anyway, Craig, how are you doing? I feel like you're in here more than I'm actually in here now with your new podcast.
Yeah, I'm going to get a bunk bed, I think, put in that office at the side there, probably easier.
Do you know, later on, in fact, we'll leave this till later. We'll talk about your podcast later on, right? Yeah. But before we go into that as well, and football and everything, just want to say we've got a few gigs coming up. We've got Corby, myself, Derek Johnson down there at I think it's the 27th of May. And then we've got the Gallant Pioneer on July the 15th and the Imperial Function, 28th of July. That's the Prod Claimers and All About the Gers. So that's going to be a cracking night. Have you seen the Prod Claimers before, Craig?
No, I've heard you talking about them.
They're so good, by the way. You don't know what you expect, you know, and then when you see them, you're just like, oh, they're brilliant. 4 hours solid entertainment.
Sash bash or normal music?
It's a bit of everything, a bit of normal music, but see William and the flute, by the way, it's something else. And then they do a few wee party tricks, but 1 minute, like the guy's playing the flute, and then the next minute, the singer comes back dressed up as Tina Turner. You know what I mean? So it's really good stuff. Right, we're going to talk about football, Craig, and then we'll get on to your podcast later on as well. But football, Old Firm games, the Celtic fans are saying that it doesn't matter. The result on Saturday was just a friendly that they put out their B team. What's your thoughts on that, Craig?
Well, I predicted this at full time that it would suddenly be a meaningless game for Celtic fans, but I can't believe anybody that's a fan of a team playing their arch rivals in a season where they could have an unbeaten league run would ever contemplate it being a non-important game. Obviously, until the whistle goes and Rangers are 1-3-0, then their mindset changed. So, a lot of nonsense. There's no danger they went into that game not wanting to win, with A, it being a Rangers-Celtic game, and B, an opportunity to potentially have an unbeaten league run.
It's like, Craig, I mean, see when you look at the team that Rangers put out, and obviously the Celtic are saying that they had a B team out, right? You look at our team, McCrory, second game of the season. Suter, he's played a handful of games. Young man, same thing, handful of games. Matondo, what's that, 3-4 games maybe he's played? Yep. I mean, so if anybody put out a B team, it was probably Rangers.
I mean, that team Rangers put out, there's even, Cantwell and Raskin signed in January. So, and then Sakala's now, apart from the last few weeks, been a definite starter. So, it certainly wasn't the Rangers' normal starting 11 either.
So I'm just looking at some of the comments coming in, and here's John Keane. He's saying, congratulations to Tillman, Young Player of the Year. Has that just been announced?
I've seen that.
I know that he was in the running for
it might have been last night, actually. I was quite surprised because I think that there's a good player there, but I don't think he's been consistent all year. And if he's the best, most consistent young player in Scottish football, it's no great. But, that's not decrying the boy. I think the guy is a talented football player, but he's just not had the consistency I would have thought to win a Player of the Year award.
So John's saying, do you think we should sign him?
I think it depends on what else is available. Again, the boy does have talent, and I think with the right coaching and he could, get this consistency, he could be a good football player. Mm-hmm. But we don't know who else is on the shopping list and who else is potential.
Craig, here's Alex Kelly. He's always correct with stats and everything, right? So he's just said, Craig, Celtic had already lost to St Mirren this season. So
sorry, I thought it was a draw actually.
Aye, so
right, okay. The game didn't count then, Alex.
He never misses anything now, Alex. So me personally, I thought it was one of our best Old Firm performances for the full 90 minutes kind of thing this season. And I was quite surprised when I seen the stats. I was telling you earlier, Rangers only had 34% possession and Celtic had 66. But our shots on target, we had 8 shots on target, and Celtic had 1, and off target we had 8. It's quite a strange.
I didn't believe that when I seen that last year, that those stats round the wrong way, because I was at the game and it certainly didn't feel like a game that Celtic had 2/3 of the ball. For a long period in the first half, I don't know if it was the 10th minute or the 12th minute or whatever, Celtic hadn't actually been in the Rangers half. And there didn't seem to be that many passages of play where Celtic were, going up the right, probing, not getting anywhere, coming back, playing it along the back, going left, that could, put the stats up. I just can't remember seeing that much Celtic in the ball, but if that's what it is, that's surprising.
Seeing Saturday, what do you think Rangers done differently?
I think we pressed them better. And they were doing a strange thing, maybe for those that were watching on TV, because the cameras are following the ball. But when we were in defence, I wasn't sure if Rangers were playing a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-3-1 at times. It was very flexible. And what they almost played with a ghost 9, where the Sakala and Matondo, when they were in possession, were going wide, which would either drag the centre-backs. And then if we turned it over quick, Cantwell was sort of filling in as a false 9. So it was a very fluid formation we had, and it seemed to work. And I always feel Celtic going at them through the middle at pace is where you're going to have most chance, because the wingers are all right, so the full-backs are all right for pace against a bit of pace, but they've never had a fast centre-back for decades.
Aye. What was the atmosphere like with a full stadium of Rangers fans there?
It was obviously it was loud and it was all one-sided, and it was strange because normally in an Old Firm game, once the Bears have celebrated, the next thing you see is a sea of people turning to the Celtic end and flicking 2 fingers up or whatever. And you've seen loads of guys celebrating with their pals and then turn around and think, we've got nothing to shout abuse at. And I think the fact that got a goal so early, the crowd were
were on board.
There was no nerves. It was, if we hadn't scored for maybe 25, 30 minutes, it might have been a wee bit different. But no, it was part of the atmosphere for
Seeing that, they nearly ran right up the park and scored right after that, didn't they?
It was strange, and I've not seen the replay of it, but it looked like McCrory, when he was coming out, slipped.
He slipped,
once, but it looked as if he'd done it twice when he was deciding to go, and then when he did go, and the boy hit the post. But if that had run in, it's maybe a...
Do you think he meant it?
Well, I'd back 3-1, so I was there with my dad's cousin up at they've got a table of 4 up the top of the club deck, and I go 3 or 4 times a year with them. I said, Burley, I showed him my coupon. I said, see if Celtic scored, do I get to celebrate? He's like, no, you better not.
Because there was a few Celtic fans hiding about Ibrox, wasn't there?
I think I've seen a few photographs with people taking photos saying, I think we've got one in front of us or one behind us, which was quite funny.
You must have been able to tell for the smell, no?
Well, I was facing the front. I was in the front row, so I was all right.
What was it like? Obviously, full stadium with Rangers fans, and how do you feel about Celtic fans coming back into the stadium and vice versa?
I think, I can remember when I started going to football in the early 80s, where not only did they have the whole Celtic end, they had the enclosure, they had a wee bit in the main stand, and the atmosphere, he struggled to match that. And I think a lot of people, when there was 7,500 in the Celtic end, and we struggled to compete with Celtic at the time, a lot of people, started saying you should cut their allocation and stuff. And I think my opinion at the time was, no, we should just put a team on the park that can beat Celtic. It's strange. I've not been, excuse me, I've not been at Parkhead when we've had only the 800 allocation. So probably, a strange atmosphere when Celtic have been down to the wee corner. I'd rather there was some there. I think there's nothing better than going to Hampden, and it's not the best theatre for football, but when it's a 50-50 split, you can't beat that. The adrenaline goes up another 10-20%. As a fan, I can imagine be the same for the players. And the fans, certainly add to the atmosphere on occasion, and I wouldn't like to see it being none forever. But now we've got the problem where the Rangers have sold so many season tickets. How could you then just suddenly say, right, well, we'll go back to 800 or 1,500 or 2,000, 3,000, whatever. But I certainly, when it was 7,500 of them there and we beat them, I don't think I can remember many better days in my football life.
No, I think somebody's going to need to cave in, isn't they, before?
Yeah, somebody's going to need to blink.
Aye, but anyway, like I'm going to start talking about the goals, right? I've seen loads of good comments coming in there, which is quite funny because it's only me and you tonight, Craig. We've not actually got Charlie.
Want to talk to us?
People are actually wanting to ask us questions. I'm like, God. Normally I just ask the questions.
What happened to your hair, big guy?
Oh, tell me about it.
We've not got a fringe between us.
Tell me about it. I'm going to try and shave some of my... Do you know that's about 4 weeks growth that I've got? I can't grow a beard, but yeah, I'm definitely going to shave it off after I've seen you tonight and slagging me. Right, we'll talk about the first goal. 4 minutes, excellent shot for Lindstrom and a brilliant finish for Cantwell. Cantwell was immense, but I mean that shot for Lindstrom as well was brilliant, wasn't
it? Yeah, I mean it was quite central for the goalkeeper, but the power he got behind it, there was no chance Hart was going to be able to hold it. And thankfully, the first to react was Cantwell. And again, when you're at the game and you see stuff, the first thing I noticed when the ball went in was Hart claiming offside. And you know that way your heart misses a beat. You think VAR, but when you seen it, it was never offside. It was. Prayer.
I felt the exact same. You do celebrate, and then there's a kind of lull in that because I was the same. And it was funny. I was in my nephew's house watching it, and he's got a wee baby, right, and everyone he jumped up and like yes. The next minute, we Joey was like, ah! You know, and we're like, oh no. But then you've got that lull. Is that who's offside? Is that, you know? I mean, it's kind of spoils that a wee bit. I think with that.
And it was only a bit hard. And it was only for a fraction of a second. I've seen Hart's hand going up, and I thought, no, I don't. But it took about 10, 20 seconds, and we've seen it again in the big screens at Ibrox. And it was nothing to worry about. But it was a good shot. Lundstrom, you seen him lining it up and think is he going to have a go? Is he going to, and bang.
It was quite a hard shot as well.
If it wasn't for the power,
it was like a half volley or something.
Yeah,
it was
the goal. If the goalie can hold it, it's no goal. So he's hit it with a fair bit of power behind it.
Then we move on to 33 minutes. Corner in, Suter. The determination in that guy to win that header was unreal, wasn't it?
Aye, and again, it took the replay for me to see what happened. Goldson jumped, and it looked to me as if it's something bizarre, like it hit his hip or hit his back heel or something. I didn't see when it was live. Suter taking the run and then the diving header almost at it. But I was delighted for him to get the goal because that boy, he said, a bit of a tough time. I felt he should maybe have, when Goldson came back, he should have been starting until Davis, and it's took an injury to Davis before he gets on. He's getting a start. That boy buried his brother not so long ago since he came to Rangers.
It's horrible, and his injuries had at Hearts as well.
So, he's not had a great time to start his career at Rangers, so I was delighted to see him. I thought he had a steady game.
I'm just jumping back to Cantwell. Gary Payton actually says, would you agree or disagree? Seeing someone saying that Cantwell could be the best midfielder in Scotland since Gaza, and Gaza was one of my idols even before he came to Rangers. And I don't know. I think he understands what the club's all about, but whether he's got that class is still to.
It's a big one.
It's a big one.
I think he's, how many games has he played? Maybe half a dozen, and he's probably had 2 or 3 really good ones, maybe 1 or 2 quiet ones, and maybe 1 or 2 average ones. I think it'll be better to get that hopeful, but it certainly he's got something about him. Yesterday and Saturday, he was tackling, he was tracking back, he was getting it into folk. I don't think a lot of the fouls he got against him were fouls, but what surprised me was I thought if that referee thinks they're all genuine fouls, he's going to have to book him for the number of them eventually for persistent fouling. But he was tore in and he was pulling the tricks off. And
see that trick he done where he beat the two and he kind of spun and came out and then he get brought down. You're like, how did he even do that? You know, but it was brilliant. But the thing I love about Cantwell is, see, even when he's down, the ball still doesn't seem to leave his feet and he still manages to get up and go for a run.
Did you see there was a thing, some dance thing they're all doing on Instagram or something just now?
Right.
And he'd done a wee clip. I just seen it this afternoon, and he looked as if he was in like his garage or something in the house. And he was top was off. That boy's ripped.
Aye.
See the core strength.
Just like us.
Just like me. He's got when you're 18 packs. I know, and you don't see it when he's his football gear on, but a wee pair of shorts and he was topless and he was doing this silly.
You're starting to look like you're enjoying that video too much.
Behind my head.
Right, moving on to the second half. Obviously, right after the second half, O'Reilly was through with Ross McCrory. It looked like he was going to score it, but he got a brilliant save over the bar. What's your thoughts on McCrory? Because obviously there's rumours that we're getting another keeper in, but do you think he deserves a chance to prove that he can be number one?
I think the time he's been at Rangers and he's not been given an extended run in the age he's at just now for a goalkeeper, I think it would be very harsh if we went out and got somebody and he became third choice again. I think I'd like to see him play the remainder of the season, to be honest with you, and just see how it goes then. But certainly I can't remember him making any blunders. It was that wee slip that I don't know what it was boots or something that, you know, could have been anything, but he pulled off that save, and he had one, I think he came out and gathered that he just looks a comfortable goalkeeper that I think he's due his chance.
No, sorry, I keep on going back to Cantwell. It's just because people keep on putting things up about Cantwell, but Ali Quinn is saying Cantwell was actually worth 50 million only 2 seasons ago. The boy's very talented, no love about his attitude. Graham, I can't even speak like for the game. Great player.
Where was he valued at that? Somebody make an offer for that, or was that?
It was rumoured that I'm sure it was like Liverpool and Everton and one other team.
About.
Aye, and it was between the 40 and 60 million. So it was. So
would we pay 1.5?
I thought we got him for a free. Didn't we know?
I think no, do we no pay early to get him?
Was it? Is that what it was? Aye, but I mean, I'm impressed with him anyway. Let's move on to the next one. 69 minutes. Sakala. Brilliant fight yet again by Cantwell, but I don't know how many people, if it was just myself, that thought this is going to be.
No, it definitely wasn't yourself, Ricki. It was 50,000 folk in the stadium thought the same.
Side netting, here it's coming.
And you know, I think it was just a big sigh of relief when it rolled across the line. And again, when I seen it on the replays, he wasn't far from hitting the post.
Aye.
It was quite close. But you know, the wee guy, I think sometimes he gets too much time to think, and he's better just at reacting, and he'll score more goals. But when he rounded keeper, I thought he'd overhit it, but he got there and rolled in near post. So fair play.
You know, Alex Kelly, I love all his wee sayings. I'm definitely going to get him on the show one day. He's saying the difference for him was that we didn't play with any passengers on Saturday. Too many players that have went missing this season. McCrory, Yilmaz, Suter, solid in defence. Raskin, Lundstrom, Cantwell controlled the midfield. Sakala and Matondo were great. Right ball as well.
I was thinking about that yesterday. I thought not one player didn't get pass marks, and I can't remember the last time we said that about a Rangers game in the league. Mm-hmm. Not even with Yilmaz. I think a lot of the comments have been about Todd the Prod. It's his brother.
His brother called him. She didn't understand what that meant.
Prodigy. So I think a lot of the headlines have been about Cantwell, but I was watching Yilmaz, particularly in the first half, because he was playing at the side that we were at, and that boy didn't do too much wrong. He was, he was getting back when needed, and he was posing a bit of a threat every time he went wide. Mm-hmm. He looked like the player that we all wanted when we signed him.
I totally agree with you. Even last week, I wasn't too sure about him against the Aberdeen game, because I think the difference between him and Barisic now is Barisic will sprint up those wings and cross the ball in, but that's getting very predictable now. Whereas Yilmaz, he's not that kind of player, and he's a better defender, I think. You know, he doesn't like losing the ball.
Well, he was overlapping and he was making himself available, but he was also cutting in sometimes when he had
He was doing that on Saturday, I thought, but compared to the Aberdeen game, I don't think he was doing any of that, you know. Cantwell and Raskin, obviously, they dominated midfield, and they're two of Michael Beale's first signings, and hopefully with Beale having a say in the matter, the players that are going to be coming in are going to be that kind of quality, you know, because I think this year, Charlie keeps on saying it, this year he thinks we bought quantity, not quality.
Well, I think even forgetting about how the quality turns out, because you'll never know if anybody's good enough to play for Rangers until they play for Rangers. But if you're signing 8 and 9 players every season and expecting to get them integrated into your squad, it's a big ask. Maybe do that once every 4 or 5 years, you'll get away with it. But to try and do that every year, ideally, you'd want to be topping up with 2, 3, maybe 4 maximum. But the problem we've got this year is we've had so many contracts that have been left to expire that that's maybe not possible for Rangers unless they want to run with quite a lean squad next year. They're going to need to go for both quality and quantity, or we'll run with a sub-20 man squad.
Do you know anything about all these rumours about the money that's meant to be coming into Rangers? You know, there's this big American, all this kind of stuff.
I think that's all it is rumours, to be honest with you. And I don't know, I'm not trying to be smart, and I know something I'm trying to hold back on. I just think it's rumours. I mean, if anybody wants to take over Rangers, it's not as difficult as people would think, because of the way business legislation is. If some person buys 30% of the shares, they're then legally obliged to buy every share at the price that they paid for those 30%. So nobody, he'll no sell and he wouldn't sell, and nobody could buy all Rangers. But as soon as somebody gets to 30%, so they could potentially buy 2 or 3 people out, be at the 30%, and then they would be legally obliged to offer money to buy everybody's shares. So, it could happen. But I would be shocked and stunned if there was nobody out there looking to, and we know about the Kylie American girl,
Fox.
but I would be shocked and stunned if there was nobody out with her sniffing about Rangers at any time, but particularly as we might have another European adventure next year. And I think anybody that was wanting to invest in Rangers, it's safe to say, will be in Europe every year, just depending on what competition. So they're not a big risk. Whereas if you're trying to buy in another league, whether that be Belgium or even in England, and buy into a club that you're guaranteed European football, go and find them.
It's going to be hard.
There's not a lot of them, but with Rangers. So from that, and the share price is at 25 pence, unless you're not a Rangers director, or 40 pence, which I find a bit weird. But if Rangers directors can buy shares at 25 pence and other people could, no dear. You could buy a fair lump of Rangers for not a lot of money. So I would be shocked and stunned if anybody out there wasn't anybody interested. But
it's just when you hear about them, there's 5 or 7 players coming in, but then you forget there's actually quite a lot of players going out.
Well,
the wage bill will be going right down.
Yeah, that's right. And it doesn't take a lot of 35 grand a week players to go. To give you, you could say, well, we don't pay players right away if they take a 4-year deal. But if we were to use some of that money to put into transfer budget, you don't pay your transfer on day one. You pay that over a period as well. So the savings that we'll probably have out of £30-odd million wage bill come July when all these contracts are up will probably be significantly lower, and you could transfer some of that into transfer fees, or go and give some good 30-40 grand a week wages to some players.
Definitely. There's John Keane, he's saying it was great to see Lowry on. He was only on for the last 20 minutes or something like that. Brilliant. He thinks it'll be brilliant to see him with I'm just trying to say Cantwell and Raskin at the same time now.
Don't say that, you can swear.
But obviously, he doesn't seem to. Obviously, his mum passed away about a month and a half ago, which was a horrible, horrible thing to do. But even before then, he wasn't getting into the team. And people were saying his attitude stinks at training. I just can't get that. I don't know if that's true.
I think we all heard the same sort of rumours, and I think it's a shame Charlie wasn't on tonight, because Charlie's probably a perfect person to ask about that. When you're a young boy and you're suddenly flung into the Rangers first team, how you cope with that mentally. So if young kids do that and they start getting a wee bit flash with the Rolex watches and all that carry on, as we've all probably heard the rumours, I sort of get it. And as long as somebody gets a hold of them and steadies the ship, but I think it'd probably be bereavement would maybe be the main reason for
the latest kind of omission. Moving on to Ryan Jack, obviously he started on Saturday, and the fans seem to be really mixed about should he get an extension. Me personally, I would give him an extension. Charlie last week said he doesn't think he should. The only way I'd give him an extension is if he packed in international football. What's your thoughts on Ryan Jack?
I'm surprised he's not packed in international football long before now, because of the way he gets treated by selections and when he goes on the park. But if a guy wants to play for his country, who are we to decide whether he should do that or not? But I think, again, you need to know what the alternatives are before you can make decisions like that. And if we've got somebody that's better than Jack, maybe younger than Jack, and you could probably put the kettle on for being available for more games than Jack, then I think you would need to go with alternative. But I've not known what the alternatives are. It's a tough one. I mean, I wouldn't be upset if Chris Jack is a
he playing football now.
He's not that good at football. But if Jack was given another contract, I wouldn't be too disappointed. And likewise, if we used that money for somebody else that was maybe a wee bit younger, I also wouldn't be too upset.
I think it would be good just to have, for his kind of history with Rangers and the experience and the training and things like that, and just to let the new boys know what it means to be a Rangers player, all that kind of thing, and stand in when needed,
But that's a role that I think we miss out as in a club, because I think that role could be better served with ex-players in the coaching side of things.
Yeah.
And there's not that many. And I think that's something that we, as a club, we could look at more, and integrating ex-Rangers players, or heads of youth or anything like that, but certainly, taking more of the youth teams. There's one or two ex-players that are coaches there now, but you look at other clubs, you look at Liverpool, for example, their youth academy is full of legends. Ours isn't. And I think...
Why do you think that is?
I think it's probably down to Craig Mulholland's been there for a long time, and Craig had
20 years or something.
Yeah, Craig had a different view on things, and Craig's contacts were, SFA driven, and obviously he was the one that gave it the job, so it's obviously, I would imagine, his decision. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just saying it's different, and that's probably why. And whoever gets the job, if they think it's important that you have people with a better understanding of the club in. I know John Brown's a scout just now, but remember John Brown used to take the under-18s and 21s. I mean, McGregor, and you can imagine these kids, they wouldn't need to be told after a couple of years with them that how to behave as a Rangers player, you know.
I know. I mean, there's Alex Kelly saying that Arfield prolonged his Rangers career by quitting playing for Canada. He thinks Jack must do the same. You know, so it's
That's a fair comment.
It's aye. Anyway, Craig, we've got loads of questions coming in, but I'm going to focus on you.
All right. Because I'm the only person here.
Because you're
You've
the
not
only
really
person-
got much an option.
You're the only person here, but there's loads of people asking where Charlie and where Derek is. Derek's actually on holiday, but Charlie had to pull out at the very, very last minute. And loads of people are asking where Mr. John Leach is as well. He was going to be one of our sponsors on the show tonight, but he had to pull out as well because we're getting new flooring done in Lounge 72, and he had to stay in. And
Just for the record, I was Leach's replacement.
you were Leach's replacement.
I cannot listen. See, being Derek Ferguson's replacement, I could live with that.
Aye.
But see, being John Leach's last minute replacement, you must have been really stuck.
No, not at all.
Third choice behind Leachy.
Not at all. It's when you text me earlier on, I was like, oh, could I have two on? And then I thought, no, because whenever Leachy's on, you can't get a word in as well, you know. But no, so I really appreciate you coming in. And obviously, if you've not seen Craig's latest podcast, it's called Craig Houston Talks To. A lot of thought went into that name. Yep. But he's actually been recording a few podcasts in this room, and he said to me, I'm going to try it and see how I go on. And I was like, Craig, I honestly think this will work because the people you know, and obviously your history with the club, all that kind of stuff, I think it's not that you're only going to just do Rangers things, but I've been lucky enough to be actually sitting in and recording them and listening to some of the stories, and even I'm surprised at some of the things that have been said. So what was, like, obviously your first one was with Paul Murray. Yeah. Was there anything he said that you were quite surprised at? What?
Sorry.
Is that you finished?
Aye. There was one comment that he made, and my jaw just dropped. There was a few wee bits and bobs. There was some of the stories he told that I didn't know the full story, and it was interesting. But he was talking about the HMRC case and how HMRC spoke to him and Dave King about Ticketus.
Mm-hmm.
And it was them that found out about Ticketus, gave the information to these guys, and asked them to make it public. And I went, wow, because you know, I don't. When you're a football fan, and these things were all pre-Sons of Struth, and I didn't have as much knowledge as I unfortunately have now about how football clubs work. You just see the headlines, and you never think, what happened? You know, how did that happen? How was that a thing? And that was a big jaw dropper for me. I thought that, I didn't realise that's how it got into the public domain. Basically, HMRC wanted that information out so that when the club eventually did go into admin, people would realise Craig White Ticketus maybe had a bit to do with it, and as well as obviously, but not the sole reason of HMRC.
But even with Paul Murray, I mean, a lot of people wouldn't realise how big a Rangers fan he actually was. Even before he was chairman, he was actually putting money in. It was the Rangers Foundation.
It had the Rangers Youth Development, and originally there was 4 guys, just fans with a bit of dough. And if you look at the ones that done that and done it in the past, they were all big Rangers fans that just, I think, at 250 grand each threw into Rangers Youth Development to create that company and invest in youth football. So, no, I mean, Paul is obviously, to put that sort of wedge in, you're a big fan,
I know. And then your second podcast with a very intelligent man, Gordon Smith, he could have spoke for hours and hours, couldn't he?
Yeah, and with time constraints with that, because if you remember, Gordon was held up coming at previous meetings, and so we were constrained with the time, and that could have went on for another half hour out of that one. And again, Gordon, I've known Gordon for a while, and then Gordon's grandson plays for Sons of Struth Football Academy, so a lot of dealings with him. And again, you hear the stories from time to time, and I knew about the Paul McCartney story and the Pelly stories, but hearing about his career and how when players move from club to club and the true stories behind that, I find that awful fascinating. And great speaker, Gordon, and his stories were first class, and a nice guy, and we could have done another hour easily.
How good does he look for his age, by the way? I don't know what it is with the players. It's like him and Parlane and all that. It's like, look at the state he is too.
I know. He's about 20 years older than me. He looks like my wee brother.
It's brilliant. But then your third one, we've only released part 1 of it so far, Sandy Chug. How long have you known that guy?
15 years, 20 years, something like that.
Do you know, it's quite funny when he was first talking to the microphone, I was like, I need to turn you up, you're dead quiet, and you're like, no, he's not.
He's just been posh.
He was being posh, and then he talked, but I mean, he's got some story.
See, through my life, the people that I became most friends with are generally very intriguing characters, and Sandy's certainly a character. There's so many facets of Sandy Chug, and obviously it's well publicised his football hooligan past, and he's went to jail and been in the paper for these things, but as a person, he just intrigues me. He's actually an intelligent, well-read guy. See if he's got a topic that he wants to know about. Sandy knows about it. That could be politics, history of Northern Ireland, all that sort of stuff. And, he's not an idiot. And he's a great coach. The kids, he was great with kids when we coached together. And that's how, oddly enough, we got pals. It wasn't through Rangers. We were coaching together at Drumsagard back 2008, it would have been. And he was just a dead interesting character. And crackers. I mean, he was talking about half the time he's ended up in real problems. It's just been daftness. And he's just daft. Right. He's one of these guys that you're sitting in a crowd of 12 folk and he's likely to just do anything. And the most off-the-wall things will just come into his head and he'll go. And again, we could have sat for hours. I mean, and as soon as we finished, I said, Sandy, we never spoke about this, we never spoke about that. So part 2, I think, I've watched part 2 back, and I think it's even better than part 1, where he's talking about the I don't want to talk about a family show, but a sex toy in Sweden, that story, and forgetting he'd stole it and getting the jail out later on and strip search with a sting in his pocket. And that's Sandy, but that's the epitome of him. He's just the daftness written at him. And
look, you're gonna get the curry muncher all excited because you mentioned sex toys, by the way.
All right.
He's been saying, what it said, things must be bad if Ricky's not even laughing at my jokes yet. But no, do you know, curry muncher has probably been like watching the podcast, even when it was the Blues Brothers as well. Yeah. But I've never ever known who the old curry muncher is, right? And it turns out he was in the pub on Saturday night, and it's only Saturday. I've not been in about 3 months.
Shut up.
Missed him. So I don't know what kind of vision I've got in my head of what this guy's going to look like, but he's coming to the pub on Friday because we've actually got the Rangers Rabble coming in to do a live show on Lounge 72 on Friday, followed by a wee bit of cabaret with Gordon Keane. Yeah. So Gordon's actually singing for the Proclaimers, so it's going to be a good night. But there's still tickets, actually, if you just check out Rangers Rabble on Twitter for that. But that was just a wee plug there.
Are you using this podcast to
plug my pub?
No, to get dates for yourself. Is this what's going on here?
What do you mean?
You're in the curry muncher?
That sounded a bit dodgy there. Do you know, there used to be, I've always had my real name on Twitter, right? But you get loads of people that get false names on Twitter. There used to be one and it was brilliant. It was called the Hairy Jobby.
I remember the Hairy Jobby. See, I was on Twitter for a while when Sons of Truth was a thing, but I didn't like Twitter. So when there was no need to be putting stuff out with Sons of Truth, I came away from Twitter. I've started getting back on now. To spread the word with the podcast, but some of the characters, the other one's the Phantom.
Oh, the Phantom, he's still on.
I know, it was the first thing I liked when I went back on Twitter, right? And Lloyd Cross, but he's behind a screen now, but these guys are just nuts, and they sort of make up for the amount of lunatics you get. But what I found was weird, see, advent of Sons of Truth and me having to be a wee bit more active on social media and stuff, people would come up to you and introduce herself as her name on Twitter, and you're like, mate, I don't read it. See, when it's not like a real name, it doesn't even register with me, and you're like, Big Sash 1690, like,
I used to get that on the loud, and sometimes they wouldn't even tell you their real name.
I found that really bizarre.
Imagine everybody just started using the handles.
So will the curry muncher introduce himself, or will they just be the curry muncher?
I don't know. We'll find out. Well, Linda Ross just says Curry's a good, honest man.
Linda Ross knows him.
So
superb.
So this will be quite interesting on Friday night. My wife's coming on Friday night, by the way. I just want to say that, curry muncher.
So the curry muncher is a guy, though?
Oh, good point. I never thought that, actually.
No, it might not even be a her.
It could be one of the...
them.
You need to watch what you say nowadays.
Curry munched them.
Curry munched them. Anyway, Curry. Right, there you go. I spoke to you for ages there. So, right, I'm moving on, because not only have you got your podcast, do you want to see what else you're involved in with your wine and your... No? Oh, well. Because some people are actually asking about it. Asking if there's going to be share issues and stuff. So that's a no.
We'll leave that one.
Right, we'll move back onto football, but definitely if you've not listened to Craig's podcast, and just go onto YouTube and check out Craig. I
may be doing Charlie this week. I hope he turns up.
I don't say you're good doing Charlie. That doesn't sound right.
That doesn't sound right. Well, this was Chug's seat, right?
They're doing Charlie and Chug this week.
This is live as well.
This is live, I know. So
I'm doing Charlie. Sorry, rewind. I'm interviewing Charlie. We have Charlie on the podcast. That doesn't even sound right. Anyway, Charlie Miller's coming on. I hope he turns up. But the other one I'm doing that will be fascinating is Gordon and Ian off the Founders Trail.
Oh, nice. He's become an older thing, actually.
Yeah, he is. And the guys are fantastic. The story behind how they got together is a story in itself.
Is it?
Aye. And the stuff that they've found through their own searches and pre-internet, going and sitting in a Mitchell library and just pulling out old newspapers and delving for stuff. Absolutely outstanding. And I can't wait to talk to them. It'll be great to give them a platform, because these guys, and then they do the Restoration of Graves project.
That's right.
Started doing road shows where they go out to Rangers clubs and done some Masonic halls and groups, and taking the story out, and they've got a audio visual presentation they do now. It's fantastic. And if anybody's never been on the Founders Trail trip,
It's good. I'd done it a few years back. In fact, probably around about Rangers first days, I think we all done it. In fact, I think I was on the bus with you one of the times.
Well, what they used to do was they used to keep a few seats for people and, invite them on, like yourselves and other people, social media that could then go in and talk about it. And I've been on it twice, and unless they totally changed the script, the amount of information that I didn't pick up the first time, the bit that got me was, see when you're going about Glasgow City Centre, there's hardly a street you turn round and they don't tell you a story about something associated with Rangers that happened in that building. But that's where we did our first AGM, and that was a place that shop that one of the founding the four lads had a sportswear shop. Right. You can't turn a street in Glasgow City Centre without a connection with Rangers and these four boys. It's incredible.
It's crazy, because when it takes you way back, you're thinking, God, they four lads, do you think they would ever imagined what it would have turned into?
No. I look at we've got our oldest team at Sons of Strauss under 15s, and I look at these guys sometimes and they're like, where's your shin pads? Oh, I forgot them. Like, you can't get yourself organised for yourself for a game. These kids started a club at your age.
Aye.
And it turned into, and do you know when it gets me? So when I walk up the marble stairs at Rangers at Ibrox, you get to the top and you start looking at the photographs of them, and I think they were teenagers, and it's this. And did they ever think their wildest dreams, starting at Glasgow Green, would end up here? It's a phenomenal Rangers story. Forgetting what happened, the European Cup, Winners' Cup triumphs and, admin and 50, forgetting all that. See the first 20, 30 years of Rangers going from those beginnings to playing at Ibrox Stadium.
Somebody should do a film about it.
Well, Robert Duvall done a film about Scottish football, and there was already a pre-made story there.
Yeah.
It's an incredible story. It really is. And I think if it wasn't for guys like Gordon Ian, I certainly wouldn't appreciate it. The amount of things I've learned about our club's formation through these guys' efforts is phenomenal. And that's why I'm so interested in getting them on and talking to them.
You're surprised that the club never done anything as detailed as this kind of thing about their history?
Rangers have had a historian for a long time, David Mason.
David Mason, a good guy.
He's done a lot of books and research and stuff like that. But, David has a job.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, so is Gordon and Ian. But their passion was, they would sit in the Mitchell library for weeks on end looking for, I'll give you an example. You know that famous photograph of Rangers have got the white strap?
Yeah.
Right. Nobody knows if that was even match worn. And there was a suggestion it might have been the strip they wore in Scottish Cup final one year where there was 2 replays, so there was 3 games.
Right.
They actually went and found 2 match reports that described that back in the day used to say Rangers took to the field in their royal blue knickerbockers and all that nonsense. They found 2 that said Rangers played in blue. So it definitely wasn't these 2 games. And it took them years to actually find the third. If they could find newspaper reports about the third game, but they had to find one that actually described the kits that both teams are wearing, and eventually found one. And it definitely wasn't that Scottish Cup. So there's a lot of people still go, oh, that was the white jersey that we've had for the 150 celebrations. It certainly wasn't a first strip. And we still don't know if it was even match worn. And see, when I was a kid, we thought that our club was formed in 1873. That was accepted truth. And if it wasn't for people like Gordon and Ian, we might still have believed that to be the truth. And we went and played a European Cup Winners' Cup final in Barcelona, which was actually on our 100th anniversary without even realising it was on our 100th anniversary. We thought it was our 99th.
Aye.
It's bizarre, isn't it?
It's unreal. Right, Craig, we're going to move back to a couple of questions. And this one seems to be keeps on cropping up, right? And I don't understand why, to be honest, because I think he's kind of done, especially the past few seasons. But Callum C saying, I hope Tav isn't captain next season. I think if anybody's going to take the captaincy over it would probably be Goldson. But what do you think about Tav captain?
I think if it was a coin toss between Goldson and Tav, I would probably have preferred Tav, if I'm honest with you. And as the ideal captain, I think his record of winning trophies is not up there at, legendary status. But what do you need off your captain? You need somebody that's been about the club. I think that's important. So you wouldn't have expect in normal circumstances have somebody brand new in. So again, it's what I'll often say is, well, what is the alternative? If there is a better alternative than Tav, then yeah, great. And if a manager would think that might be a Golson, fine. But I just don't know who is captain material in the team, especially this year. I don't think we've played great. I don't think we've showed much leadership in the park for any position. So who would you have been captain this year? And I think coin toss between Golson and Tav. I don't think it made any difference either way. And I don't see any other characters at the club right now that have got that about.
I mean, for what I've heard, it is kind of Golson in the change room. He's the one that's doing all the shouting, so maybe he's just a totally different characters we have, But John Keane, he's saying, do you think Europe will impact who we sign? How many rounds do we have to play for Champions League?
I can't remember if it's 1 or 2. I think it's 2. And of course, I mean, that. But then, is it? I mean, John Bennett told us, or Stuart Robertson told us after the fans were asking where the Champions League money went last year, that it's actually not that much you get. So does it really matter? But yeah, I think common sense would suggest that it would impact your turnover in the year. Therefore, it would impact how much money you can get.
But I don't know if he's meaning would it attract more players if we're definitely in the Champions League. But by that point, for what Michael Beale was saying the other day is he wants to sign everybody before pre-season. So by that point, it
depends who you're chasing. You might have somebody whose stipulation is I want to play in the Champions League next year. But I don't think we'll be at the Lionel Messi and the Ronaldo echelons of signing targets this year. Players that we're probably going to be signing will be from, I would imagine, maybe your Belgians, your Championship, where any European football might be a bonus to them. I can't see us being at the level where players are saying, "Oh, I'm coming if you're in the Champions League, if you're in the Europa League." Can't see us being shopping at that.
I think, as you said, when you look at the amount of clubs, especially down in English leagues, and there's only the top, was it 4 or something like that down in England, only get into the Europa and things like that.
There's only one gets into Europa.
Is it?
I mean, you get 4 in the Champions League, or was it 1 in the conference? I can't remember, but I was looking at it the other day and I thought...
So it's very hard. Even when you were talking about, somebody being interested in buying Rangers, you would think straight away, because even when we went into the admin, I was surprised that somebody didn't actually step in then. With a lot of money. I know.
They did, Ricki.
Did
you not watch your Paul Murray podcast?
You know what I mean?
But they wouldn't let them buy it.
There's Stephen. I actually met Stephen over in Fuerteventura. Oops, I just clicked loads of buttons there. But Stephen was saying Tav's actually been the captain for 4 managers now, so they all can't be wrong. So that's quite a...
That's a good way of looking at it as well. Yeah, these guys have all had faith in him.
There's Lauren. I actually just pushed the wrong button, but I'm going to read it out anyway. So it's Lauren says, don't see the benefit of stripping Tav a captaincy. Players can step up to motivate and inspire the team without the armband, which is true. You should have 11 captains in that field.
That's that. I think the captain gets to do 2 things, and that's toss a coin at the start, or call a coin toss at the start of the game, and pick up the trophies at the end of the game. But a club like Rangers, you look at the 9 in a row years, especially the amount of people that didn't have armband on, that you would not, put it past them getting somebody by the throat in a game and tell me, get a finger out. Right? Imagine John Brown was never a captain of the Rangers, but imagine him, Stuart McCall, Gough, McCoist. All these people were in the same team. The only one was the captain. I think that's where we need to be.
I played a friendly football game with John Brown over in Phuket one year, and honestly, I hadn't played football in ages. I'd only get in for the dancing about 7 o'clock in the morning. The game was at 10 o'clock in the morning, and he was shouting and screaming at me. He was playing left back, and I was sent off. And honestly, I was like, calm down, it's only that.
That's the thing that, see, when you play, I've been fortunate. I think I played in 3 different sort of charity games with ex professionals, and they still get this mad passion to win. And I tell you the worst one, Alec Ray.
Aye.
He was kicking folk that paid 200 quid to play in the game.
That was his own team.
That was getting his own team. Yeah, it was nuts. But they all had this passion. Even like John McDonald, these guys like Marvin, and just still want to win. Crazy.
Just die hards. Right, we'll go into the Hibs game in a wee minute, all right? But before that, just for some of you that missed the start of the show, we've got a couple of gigs coming up soon. So I'm heading down to Corby on, I think it's the 27th of May, with Big Derek Johnson, so that'll be a good one. And then the 15th of July, myself, Charlie and Derek are in the Gallant Pioneer, if they turn up.
You can't phone me last minute for that, Ricki. Don't be phoning me with 10 minutes notice to go to Blackpool.
I'm sure you would say no.
Imagine if folk get paid money for tickets and I've turned up and said they'd want to lunch you.
Oh, honestly, it's one of my favourite pubs ever, by the way. I love it in there. And then in if you want tickets for that, by the way, just go into the Gallant Pioneers Facebook page and they can sort you out. Then on the 28th of July, we're in the Imperial Function Suite over in Bells Hill, but we're also, the amazing Proclaimers are going to be with us as well, which is brilliant. So if you want tickets for that, you just go to tinyurl.com, Proclaimers. Right, Craig, predictions for Hibs game this Sunday. What time's it at? Is that 12:30 Sunday? Or is it 3? Not too sure. What do you think? Sunday
could go anyway. It genuinely could. I think what's more important now. I said the last time I was on, if we lost the semi-final to Celtic, we've got 5 dead rubbers. We should just pick anybody. I'm glad I changed my mind about that an Old Firm game, but I do genuinely think these games, see your Lowleys and your Lovelace that come on for wee cameos.
Yeah.
I think now's a perfect opportunity. I would hate to see McCrory lose his jersey. I think he deserves to get these remaining games. And try, and I genuinely, anybody that's not already signed a contract for next year or still under contract, I wouldn't play them. Because what's the point? That's taking about 270 minutes of game time off people who, like Lovelace and your Lowries, that could really benefit from it. If Kent's not going to be with us, and he's injured now, so that's maybe quite handy. But Morelos, I just wouldn't play them. I just give the game time to people that could really benefit from it.
Do you know, I was listening to Michael Beale's press conference the other day, and he was saying he's already had the chat with all the players, and some of them are actually players that still get contracts, and they've all been told, if you're staying or no this season, so it must be a horrible time for a football player, especially if you think you've got a year or two left to. I'm sure at Rangers,
25 to 35 grand a week, they'll be all right.
It would help, But, right, we'll just do predictions because we're actually running out of time. And here's me thinking we're going to struggle what to talk about tonight. But before we do predictions, I just want to say once again, thanks to all our sponsors: Avia Signs, Parts Construction and Plant Hire, Giant C Architectural, Plugged In Business Solutions, DB Dental Care and Crown Embroidery. And you can get all of their websites and all the info on our website, which is allaboutthegers.co.uk. But we'll do predictions, and then I'm afraid that's us.
Can I just say
yeah, definitely.
Sons of Struth under 13s A team finished the league campaign Saturday. They'd already won the league with 3 games to spare.
Oh, brilliant.
Finished the league, top of the league, first division champions, undefeated. 3 draws.
That's good, isn't it?
Yeah. So tremendous wee team. And they've got 2 cups. Divisional cup, they're still in semi-final Saturday. They play the final of that whenever. And then they've got the biggest cup they're still in, the League Cup, for all the 50, 60 teams in Paisley District League, and final in the 27th of May down in Port Glasgow. So,
right. You must be proud.
Oh,
I can remember when you started that all those years ago. You know what I mean? I brought my boy Robbie, but you just didn't have an age group.
Couldn't get enough players in that age group to have a team in Robbie's age. And
it's definitely worked out. And you've had some amazing former Rangers players help you out as well, haven't you, at training?
Yeah.
But predictions for
Hibs. Coin toss, 2-0. You don't know where it's going to go. If you could go out with under 18s.
I know.
So I will win.
Aye.
Just that, it's Rangers. We're only playing Hibs.
I'll do 3-1. I'll do 3-1 then.
Yeah, actually, do you get a note of them?
Nah, I just listened back. We used to actually do it. We used to do a wee competition.
I backed Rangers 3-1 on Saturday, mate.
I know, you were saying.
I just couldn't believe it.
I
was wanting Celtic to score. How bad's that?
Aye.
But I wasn't disappointed they didn't.
I can imagine. Right, anyway. Thanks for coming on, Craig, by the way, because very last minute substitution because Charlie had to pull out.
I apologise to your viewers who wanted to tune in
to watch
Charlie and
a lot of them have stayed, which is good.
Is that right? You've got 2 still here.
So it's been great, and it's good to I'm reading all these comments. I'm getting quite excited to see who Curry Muncher is. So
I don't really want to know too much.
I know, so we'll find out on Friday. But once again, Craig, thank you, and thanks to everybody that's joined us tonight. And we will be back next Monday. Don't know who it's going to be. Charlie will definitely be back.
I'll just get my sleeping bag.
You just get your sleeping bag. In fact, you're back in on Wednesday recording your podcast. So make sure you check out Craig's podcast. It's called Craig Houston Talks To, and it's your second part's going to be out tomorrow, isn't it?
I hope so. I'm just waiting for the guy to edit something.
He's a bit slow. Right, take care. All right, see you all next week.
And the hate made a slash and a stain on my soul, and it chewed on my flesh and it sucked on my bones. With the drinking and the bees and the plotting and the scheming and the